Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Waller's Wallet, and we finally have more information about the upcoming changes to the Aeroplan program. And there are some good changes and some not so good changes coming to Aeroplan, so let's take a look at them. Now, if you want a simple way to help out the channel, consider hitting that thumbs up button. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn that bell notification on as well so you don't miss out on future videos. Now, Aeroplan is a loyalty program for Air Canada, and Air Canada is part of the Star Alliance program. And Aeroplan miles have some pretty good uses, but with the program changing, those good uses will also be changing. Now, these changes are going to go into effect on November 8th of this year, so you still have time to book flights at the current rates before these go live. Now, first, let's take a look at some notable points about the program changes. Now, one of the biggest positives is the fact that Aeroplan is going to be dropping fuel surcharges on their flights, and this is a fantastic change because these fuel surcharges made some programs like Lufthansa and Austrian Air really bad uses of these miles, but that's no longer going to be an issue. And while that will gather a lot of attention from aspirational flyers, there's a negative trade-off here, because now there's going to be a $39 Canadian or about $30 US fee per ticket on all partner bookings, and it doesn't matter if you book online or over the phone. So this is going to increase the cost for partners like United, TAP, and Swiss, which were lower before these changes. So if you're looking to book a US domestic flight on United, if you're using Aeroplan miles, you're going to pay the miles plus that extra fee, and I really don't like that at all because this does raise the cost quite a bit. Because this would go from a $5 and $60 ticket to now adding about a $30 fee per ticket. And Aeroplan also mentions that there will be no blackout dates, but this is for flights on Air Canada metal, because for partners, they're dependent upon partners opening up award availability for partners to book those flights. Then you'll also be able to pool your points with up to 8 family members. Now, I really like this because I hate when companies charge fees to move your points to other family members to book your flights. Also, one issue with Aeroplan was that it would occasionally show phantom space, which means it would show you award space that actually wasn't there or bookable with your points and miles. But with their new system, this should no longer be the case, which is great news for people searching for award space, and I really hope that actually works. Then let's talk about stopovers, because stopovers are a great way to get extra value from your miles. And Aeroplan had allowed one free stopover on round-trip itineraries, but that's no longer going to be the case in the new program. Aeroplan will now not only allow up to 2 stopovers on round-trip tickets, but you can also book a stopover on a one-way ticket as well. Now, unfortunately, this is going to cost 5,000 miles per stopover, so this can add up to 10,000 miles per ticket if you wanted a 2 stopover itinerary on a round-trip ticket. And depending on how you look at this can be a positive or it can be a negative. Because being able to add a stopover on a one-way ticket is great, but losing the free stopover on a round-trip ticket is a negative. And remember, it wasn't too long ago you were able to book 2 free stopovers on a round-trip ticket as well with your Aeroplan miles. Now, with the stopovers, you do need to move in the same direction. You're not allowed to backtrack. And it looks like you're also going to be able to cross zones as well when using your stopover, which can make this even more valuable since it would only cost 5,000 miles for that stopover, and we'll talk about the zones in just a minute. So for example, if you wanted to fly from Boston to Sydney, but wanted to have a stopover in Tokyo and Istanbul, you can do that. It would cost you only 5,000 miles for the stopover in Istanbul and 5,000 miles for the stopover in Tokyo before you fly back home to Boston. Also, another negative is that you'll no longer be able to have a stopover in the US, and this was a great benefit of Aeroplan miles to allow a stopover on a domestic ticket. And based on the new zones, these stopovers can lead to some pretty interesting and some pretty great options to using your points. And since you can book a stopover on a one-way ticket as well, this could provide more value for certain people as well. Now let's talk about the award chart changes. Now, Aeroplan is changing to a hybrid distance zone-based award chart with 4 different zones. These zones are broken up into North America, Atlantic, which includes Europe, Africa, and the Middle East, Pacific, which includes Asia and Oceania, and then South America. And the amount of miles required for redemption is going to be based on the zones and the distance you're flying. It will also depend on if you're flying Air Canada flights or a partner flight, because Air Canada is going dynamic for flights on their metal, will keep partners at a stable award price. But if your ticket is multi-carrier and part of it is on Air Canada Metal, then it will be the weighted average for that ticket cost. This is pretty similar to what we see with United now when you book a multi-carrier ticket with your United miles. Now, as a whole, the award prices are increasing. There are going to be a few options where it could potentially cost fewer miles or the same number of miles, but as a whole, prices are going up in the program, some not as much as others, but others do increase quite a bit. And if you're flying within North America, depending on the distance of the flights, it can be as low as 6,000 miles one way or as high as 70,000 miles one way for business class. You can see partners still stay a stable rate though, but remember, if you're using United, you will be hit with that $30 fee. And looking to fly from North America to the Atlantic zones, it will range from as low as 35,000 points one way in economy up to 250,000 points for a first class flight for flights over 8,001 miles. And in the previous award chart, a great sweet spot here was from North America to Europe at that 55,000 miles one way in business class, and that even included the West Coast. But now on the low end, this is going to cost 60,000 miles based on the distance for those partners. And if we're looking at flying, let's say for example, from Los Angeles to Paris in business, if this were a non-stop flight, it would now cost 70,000 miles on a partner airline, which is a 27% increase in miles, which actually puts this more in line with other options like United. So people on the East Coast would fare better here than people on the West Coast for those 60,000 point deals in business class. And at 35,000 points one way in economy to Europe, this is more than what other programs charge to fly to Europe and really is not a good use here. Then from North America to the Pacific zones, prices can be as low as 35,000 points in economy or up to 350,000 points in first class on flights of 11,001 miles or more. But again, we see partners have stable pricing. But even searching flights from the West Coast like San Francisco to Tokyo, that distance is over 5,000 miles one way. So for partners, you're looking at 50,000 points one way in economy, which is not great at all, especially since you can find options for 35,000 points or miles one way in economy. In business class is 75,000 points one way, which actually stays the same for that distance. And from the East Coast, this is going to be more expensive. Then lastly, looking at North America to South America, flights will be as low as 30,000 points one way in economy class or up to 250,000 points for first class for flights over 4,501 miles. And again, as a whole, we see prices increase. Now, just like other distance-based awards or other award programs in general, there are going to be some good options of using your points and ways to really maximize your points. And we'll really be able to dig into this once the program goes live so we can see what we can really do with this program, especially once you start adding in stopovers into your itineraries. And if you're so inclined, you can redeem your points for upgrades, Wi-Fi, food and drinks. Not something I would do with my points, but hey, to each their own, right? Now, there are some good things about this program, some things that aren't so good as well. Overall, the award chart has been devalued. And on November 8th, it's going to cost you more miles to book many of the same flights compared to today's pricing. Yes, there could be some options that are less or the same, but those are going to be in the minority. And I think I saw that the average award price is going up about 13%. And it could have been a lot worse, but this is still a negative because there are some options that went up way more than 13%. And while the free stopover going away, I think is a negative, Aeroplan replacing this with options for a stopover on a one-way or two stopovers on a round trip at 5,000 points for each stopover isn't unreasonable. It's better than nothing, and I guess they could have removed it altogether. But it really stinks that the domestic stopover was removed altogether. And while there will be plenty of topics on how to maximize the stopovers and get amazing value from it, there will always be a way to get crazy value from stopovers. And when Aeroplan reduced the 2 free stopovers down to 1 stopover, they said it was due to the fact that only 0.3% of awards had 2 stopovers. So if that holds true, not many people are actually using the 2 stopovers to begin with. And in my experience asking our community, many of you won't actually be able to book a 2 stopover itinerary, based on work, life, and other life commitments. So while it looks good on paper, I'm really curious how many people actually get to use this benefit to extract that maximum amount of value, because historically, it's a small number. I mean, it makes for good videos or for good blog articles, But realistically speaking, it's a small minority of people who can actually do this. And while eliminating fuel surcharges is a positive and aspirational travelers will absolutely love this, I think that $39 Canadian or $30 US fee to book on partners is a sizable negative. Sure, you can now book Lufthansa first class with no fuel surcharges, but there's availability issues to worry about with that option. And again, most of you aren't looking to book that. And paying a $39 Canadian or $30 US fee per ticket to book on a partner airline can make this a poor option for certain routes like US domestic tickets, and it even increases the cost of partners who didn't pass on fuel surcharges to begin with. And it will even increase the cost for families when they fly on certain airlines. Now, I'm probably in the minority in thinking on this, and that's okay, but as a coach flyer, I think these changes are overall negative with some bright spots for people who can take advantage of more complex itineraries. And just like with other programs, there will be times that this is a good option for your flights, and other times it won't be a good option. So it's just important to compare the options you have. But for me, this is more negative than it is positive. So tell me, what do you think of the new Aeroplan program? Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in this video. If you want to help support the channel, take a look at the links down in the description below. And if you know somebody that could benefit from this video, feel free to share it with them. And until next time, safe travels and take care.